So we're gonna go over, we'll go through a whole series where one's gonna be the squat, one's gonna be a deadlift, we'll go through push-ups too, but we're gonna be talking about exercise variety, but then also how you progress or how you regress if necessary. So for the squat, this is a really good example of ways to progress are we wanna add complexity and add load and then have a free range of motion, so I'll show you what that means. And then ways to regress would be to control the range of motion. So I'll show you what that means too. So we always start out with a baseline assessment, which is see how somebody would squat, okay? Based on that assessment, that's gonna tell you if you need to regress or if you should progress, and then perhaps the extent to which you progress. So if someone's doing a bodyweight squat and it looks perfect in mine, then we can kind of feel free to progress to more challenging exercises. But if someone, for example, maybe they're not able to hit appropriate depth, or maybe their knees are caving in, we need to make some changes, okay? So some of those changes we went over in class. One thing that you can do if somebody is not able to control the squat and get good technique is you control the range of motion. So a box is a really good way to regress this, and it's also just an exercise variety too. So if I do this box squat right now, it's probably going to be a little bit higher than what it needs to be for a parallel squat. But so right now, I'm just controlling the range of motion, so I can feel that that's actually higher than parallel right now. But I want to get that person to groove that pattern, okay? So what I would do, for example, if I'm the client and then the trainer's right there, if this squat is really good, if it starts to look good, you can start to take away height. So if it's looking good, we just keep taking away height. And then you would move the last one away. And by this point, they should be about hitting parallel, or maybe even a little bit lower. So all they're doing is just grooving that pattern now. So that's, once we get that, then we would go actually back to our baseline. So that's the squat. Now, once they've done that, can they do that in free range of motion? So without any help from the box, okay? So if they can get that down, we want to add complexity, okay? So adding load is one way to add complexity. So I would usually take a bodyweight squat. If they can do well, we can add load, okay? So for example, a goblet squat. That's just elbows going down to the inside of their knees. There's a lot of different variations that you can do with the squat. So I could hold the weight up here. I can change where the weight is. I can go down there and do a squat. I can add double load. Okay, so the double load could be, I'm doing my squat down here. I could do double load where I'm holding it up here. Okay. I could do offset loads. So an offset load would be on this side, like that. Other side. And you could still do the same exact thing right down here doing the squat. Okay? So that's 1, 2, 3, double arm 4, 5 different variations that aren't exactly that complex. Once someone gets that down and you've added load, so if somebody can goblet squat 70 pounds, we can move over to the bar, okay? Come over here. So because you're actually adding complexity again, people that have a goblet squat down might struggle when they go over to a barbell squat, okay? So we might end up going back to controlling the range of motion. Let's just scoot this up. So if we're doing this is a box squat now. So whenever you have a bar on your back, you have a couple different options. You come over here and get close for this one. So even within a squat, you can have a more quad dominant or a more hip dominant. This is a box squat, so it's actually gonna be more hip dominant. The place where you put the bar can either be high or low. So this would be a high bar position. That would be a lower bar position, okay? So when I'm using the box, I'm going to be sitting back more. Okay? So I'm sitting back and coming up. So right now I'm still controlling the range of motion. This is still a high squat, okay? So So I'm not hitting parallel at this moment, okay? So if someone's controlling that range of motion, we just put it a little bit lower. So right there, I'm getting pretty close to parallel. And then if I was to take away this last one right here, that should be getting me there. So that's the box squat. The next thing we would do if we're following that progression, we've already added complexity. We have controlled the range of motion, so now we'll go free range of motion. Okay? So free range of motion, I'm not using the box at all. And then another variation, it's not necessarily easier, it's not necessarily harder. Some people might struggle to do the front squat at first. So the front squat, 2 fingers on the bar, and you go up in the rack position. So this is actually, it's a more quad dominant version of the squat, which means if you watch my knees will go further forward than when I was doing the back squat. Okay? My torso is also going to be a little bit more upright. For people that struggle to get into this position, hands go like that. Okay? So that was a quick progression of going from an assessment, the squat, doing something with the assessment, either regress by controlling the range of motion, progressing by adding load, and also giving the person free range of motion, to adding some complexity, okay, so going over to a barbell with a controlled range of motion, taking away the controlled range of motion, free range of motion, and then adding complexity by doing something like a back squat or a front squat, and then from there the way to progress it would be to add load. And that's good.